How's everybody doing?
Well, how are you doing?
Great. Hello there, Viking. So, just waiting some minutes.
Hello.
See the people has joined also. So hello everybody and welcome to Pandora's Box official AMA. This is Joe here. I'll be your host for today's AMA. The team and I are happy that you're here with us right now and that we're grateful that you chose to spend some time with us today. We hope you'll find this AMA informative because we'll have some more updates to share with you on the token development and also more information on the creative contest that's already live and happening on our Discord. Once the team is done with the announcements, you have opportunity to ask questions. Also, while we're talking, just sending some messages and we try to reply to them as we go. Some of you were also curious about the team's opinion on NFTs. So hear what we think, and we invited a special guest again, as will be joining us on our first roundtable, which will be about NFTs. Okay, so let's get this party started with an update on the Unbox token. Suryan, do you mind sharing the updates
Sure.
with us?
So we have tested the token on the testnet, and wait 1 second, was somebody making noise in the background? We tested now in the last week we have the token on testnet as mentioned. We know now how to do the changes, and we have a bit more full oversight over what functions and everything that we have available. We have also been testing out the token reallocation system that we have proposed in our light paper, which seem to be working as we have intended. So yeah, by next week as AMA, we aim to have the token launched on mainnet and sent already to audit. So we're on the good way to get all of that done. I guess that
Awesome.
was it for me now.
So I have some news about the creative contest. We see in our main group chat a few of the submissions already. We have memes, we have some cool 3D art. So the thing is that we're loving the art and everything that you guys are creating and submitting. So we would love to see even more creations and realize that it's been a really busy few weeks in the community. We've had new members joining, we have lots of different games and activities. And maybe we realize that it's good to have some more time for you guys to submit your artwork. So that's why this week we announced that we're extending the creative contest for another week. So the top 5 entries, which will get the most votes from the community, so the most likes and reactions to the submission sent will win a whitelist spot for our pre-sale. As you know, the creative contest theme is Pandora's Box and the token Unbox. So get your creative muscles working and creating some original artwork. It can be gifs or stickers or videos, memes, the funny ones, a few good ones we already got. And you can send in your submissions until July 11th. So until next week on Monday. It will give us the community to go and vote the next 2 days. So the prize winners will be announced on July 13th on our next AMA, which will be on Wednesday. Later on, we're going to submit a summary of today's AMA. So all the links where to join and more information about that will be ready for you to click and read in our summary. Did we get any questions? I guess not yet. Well, at the end, you guys can make more questions. We are now wrapped up with the announcements, and we can go to our roundtable. So today's topics in our conversation will be NFTs. Here we're gonna have our team members Viking and Sudian and special guests such as we already know our financial advisor Descartes Gain. Yeah, I hope I said it right this time. I practiced. Who is a DeFi DJ Maxi, has been an on crypto VC mentored by Sandhill since 2012. He's a valued and trusted advisor to the Unbox to our project. He spearheaded 8 off-chain hypergrowth startups, reaching 25 to 100 million valuations, navigating board scope multi-million-dollar budgets to drive long-term profitability. He has nearly 2 decades of experience navigating business, legal compliance in North and South America and Asia. But we also have another guest, which is Spooks. Would you mind introducing him briefly, Viking?
Absolutely. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, we hear you.
All right. So Spook is here. I would say he's a quite accomplished medium writer. He aggregates and describes different blockchain technologies that he comes across. I've noticed that he's very good at pointing out issues, and he's also very good at coming up with solutions. He has joined the team in a bit of a satellite type of way. I'll let him continue with that particular point. Other than that, I do know that he markets a bit for DFX. DFX has done him very well, and they seem to be a good fit with him. And yeah, so with no further ado, I'm actually not the best introducing guy, but with no further ado, that my friend is Spookus.
Awesome. Thank you, Viking. So we have lots of different minds and people that is also part of the team. Our roundtable, how it's going to work today is we're going to bring up questions and topics, some of them that I'll bring, and then the participants, you guys will give your opinions if you agree with something that someone said or if you have another point of view. I think it would be really interesting for us to spark this kind of conversations in our community, and not just in AMAs and roundtables, but also in the chat. So feel free and feel encouraged to do so throughout the week. So the first thing is kind of like introductory. Why are NFTs relevant to you guys, or how is it different from something that we already had before? Who would like to start in the round table?
I can say something about that if you want to start.
Yes, please go on.
So for me, I don't know if everybody's aware or not, but ERC 721 NFT contracts is a technology that has actually existed for years, long before the current NFT boom that has taken JPEGs on chain. It actually the technology actually wasn't just recently invented when the JPEG NFT boom started. It's been around, and when I first came across it, my vision for it was not JPEGs on chain. It was applications in the real world. So the point is, NFT, like ERC 721 contracts and others, are very different than your typical crypto token blockchains, and have different real world applications. So typical cryptocurrency blockchain may be very effective for doing something like an accounting audit trail that is an immutable record of accounting that cannot be modified or changed or anything like that, that goes through a chain from start to finish. However, that's not really an appropriate use case for an ERC 721 NFT technology. A blockchain like a ERC 20 token would be more appropriate for that. So it's definitely, in my opinion, a very different technology than your typical ERC 20 blockchain token.
Some of these utilities that you're talking about, I guess last time that we've spoke last week, you brought up a few projects that are using NFT, not just as the regular JPEG. Would you mind bringing those back, or what are these utilities that you mentioned last time?
Yeah, so the vast majority of the potential utility of NFT technology hasn't even been scratched yet in real world applications, but there are some people that are doing it. And one of them that is pretty cool is called Cattle Proof. And so you can share the link in the chat to their website to check it out. But this is a cattle farming technology that uses NFTs to have an immutable audit trail of cattle ranching and sales from farm to market, so that it can keep a immutable trail of exactly what has been done through the entire process of raising the cattle, to processing, to transportation, all the way to table. So the NFTs are actually an immutable trail verifying the quality and everything about the cattle and the meats that ends up on your table. The applications that are most exciting to me, though, are things like NFT medical records, driver's license, car titles, house deeds, real land deeds, things like this. But something that I have had a lot of experience with lately is audit trails in the pharmaceutical industry. So there's an enormous amount of time and manpower and technologies that are wasted on maintaining a valid audit trail. And it involves tremendous manpower in verifying records and signing off verification of records. And ultimately, it all still can be tampered with. It's not immutable. And so this is an application that lately has been really on my mind that would be epically solved by NFT technology and save companies tons of money, maintain transparency, and hold manufacturers far more accountable than they are today.
I'd actually like to interject there on this particular note and ask Yuba or Suryan about their. You guys have created something recently, and correct me if I'm wrong. Hyphal network.
Hyphal,
I believe.
yeah.
Hyphal, yes, and you were actually leaning towards information along these lines. Do you see any connections there?
So just to clarify a little bit, Highfall is something that me and Joe and one more guy that is not in here at this point. We created a protocol under a hackathon that was towards ledgering data from soil samples and samples from nature, like if it's digital input of water stream activities, if it's air pollution, if it's like more static soil sampling, whatnot, where you can peg that information to any NFT. You can publicize it, you can map it out, and you can yeah, for sure. I do see quite a bit of a connection in all of that, because we're getting to a point where to trust data, like we can't trust data in the ways that we used to do. We need proof, we need background on the information that is being fed us. And this comes down to everything in our lives. It comes down to, like we're talking about now, air quality, soil samples, whatnot. We're talking about litigation. We're talking about all sorts of features in society that can be optimized, and not just optimized, it can be done in ways where you cannot fault on it. Like you cannot go in and say like, hey, you didn't, like I didn't sign this contract or whatnot. No, it's signed, it's there. There is no question if it's signed or not. But this where it needs to be already? No, there is a long way left for a lot of this to go. Like we have places, products like Chainlink, which is working on similarly like what was mentioned about the cattle proof, but they're using it for pretty much anything inside of the anything from baby powder milk, baby milk, to pretty much anything. You can source it, like you mentioned, from its growth till it's till the consumer. And these things are
kind of like what VeChain was doing, but in an immutable format in a sense.
I'm not sure if I picked up on that one.
I said along the lines not constructability, but the along the lines of what VeChain was doing by essentially recording from the beginning of the source to the end product. However,
I was talking about VeChain.
oh, okay. Well, excuse me.
But yeah, but there is a lot coming up. Like there is tokens like Jur, for example, which is you can basically automate like corporate litigation for a bunch of things. For like there is a whole bunch of infrastructure that is going to change everything that we do with corporate and governmental interaction and whatnot, and a lot of that is going to go through NFTs.
So it kind of is it a trend that you see coming? What are the trends, the upcoming, when it comes down to utility, but also niches? I guess now Surian said governmental, and what are other trends in that direction that you guys see?
I see a huge push towards the housing market, to be honest. In NFTs, I see at least 3 or 4 different projects trying to NFT essentially the transference of ownership for housing.
Card, you
For
have
sure.
anything?
I was just going to mention real quick. I definitely agree with real estate being huge. The challenge with it has been primarily legislative, because doing and if doing real estate ownership transference via blockchain or NFT, with current definitions and unclear legislation, the general consensus is that it turns it into a security. And so that's been, in my opinion, the primary challenge to really pushing that through.
I would agree to that, and I would add another one of the issues that I've talked to one of the guys that was working on this also, and one of the big issues that they have is like, okay, so if somebody loses their wallet, right, they have an NFT there that is the ownership of a house. Now, essentially, nobody owns that house. Like, how do you deal with these kind of issues? Like, it's a completely novel environment that we are stepping into, and there is a lot of infrastructure that is missing essentially for all of this to flourish in the way that it's about to do. But step by step, like just over the last few years, there is immense amount of infrastructure that has popped up that was not there just a few years ago, that will support this growth and this adoption.
I agree. We're moving towards it.
Most definitely, and due to some of the things that our project has been working on in the background, we are actually working on those solutions. However, they are quite difficult, but I really do believe that those, I mean, come on, who would have believed in the 80s if somebody told you about Bitcoin? Who would have believed it would have happened? So there's some time that's needed and some good brains that are needed to come together, but I do believe it can happen. And I personally think we're making some headway on that fact.
Although we have some good brains on the team and some good minds, do any of you recall any of the latest projects that you just went like, how didn't I think of that before? Mind-blowing solutions from NFT projects.
Well, this one isn't so mind-blowing, but I did see a project that was working on a home entry, and if I'm not mistaken, and don't quote me on this, but I believe they were adding a vehicle entry as well. I don't know about engine starting or anything like that, but essentially property entry via NFT technology, which I thought was very interesting. Definitely on target. However, then we now circle back to the issue that Suryan just outlined, which is what happens if you lose your wallet. And so that I believe, yes, there is a major infrastructure addition that needs to be worked in before this becomes a common technology.
And I think it's also a huge paradigm shift in the crypto industry as well. That's necessary in order to get to that point, because so far the crypto industry has been primarily focused on creating new alternatives to traditional finance currency and making money, high yields, Ponzi's. This has been the primary focus and goal of the vast majority of the crypto industry development. So the paradigm shift to real world applications is still in its infancy.
Correct.
It's like internet early 90s at best. at this point of where we're about to go. That's for sure. And yeah,
But I feel that when it comes down to this that you're saying, even the usability, the apps and the processes that we have now currently in crypto, it's just like how can it be so difficult when I'm using my bank app, just traditional bank? It seems so much easier. I guess throughout the years, it has been getting easier because we have learned also from our side. But I see that things are coming to a point, and you can see the evolution so fast before your eyes. What do you see of the future that can be the future of the NFT market as it is now?
Well, one thing I think is true and is a positive observation is that the progress in Web3 dApps over the past year has been tremendous as far as UX and usability is, and it's definitely becoming easier and more user friendly to interact with Web3 in a self-custody and decentralized manner than it was, even 2-3 years ago. So that's a positive trend in my opinion.
no doubt about that one. It's like the last years has been quite mind-blowing, the developments that has happened and the pace that it's still keeping on. Like now in the bear market, the best people I know in the space are busier than ever because it's like now is when you build. Yeah, one of the big things I have in my view of the future is I would actually call them basket assets and basket currencies. Now I'm both talking about NFTs, um, but also about currencies, as in tokens, which has multiple fields of backing that makes them essentially stable assets, so to say. Then there is, of course, like it can be managed funds, like one NFT equals 1% or 1 out of 100 of the pool or whatever, or one token is one out of how many tokens there is. It depends on how they want to do it. If it's a timed thingy, like we're already talking about, that there is central banks now creating treasuries and bonds both on the NFT infrastructure. So yeah, there is going to be a lot of these kind of backed NFTs, like physical, like anything like that you can have value on will be backed under an NFT at one point, I'm pretty sure.
Spooks, you had an interesting quote here, or post here in Pandora's Box Official. What could you expound upon that?
Well, sure. I see NFTs, like especially NFTs, as one of the big emerging industries in crypto as such. Whereas like DeFi is money orientated, NFTs are ownership orientated, and like this principle on blockchain, you can replace all kinds of bureaucracy with it. Anything that has to be checked, or anything where there's like a stop in between a progress of verification, can just be interlinked by an NFT. There's lots of, let's say, paperwork that currently is outsourced to backends that just can be broken over one NFT ownership in the right system. And like I see this trend as some sort of identification card. We see this already with NFTs events, like Kampai Pandas, or like what Gary Vee is doing. It's like you own, or like the monkey NFTs, the apes. If you own this NFT, you are privileged to join this special VIP lounge.
You're fading a bit, buddy.
And what?
Nope,
fading.
you are right back where you were.
Oh.
Never mind.
Perfect. Yeah, I think ownership is one of the bigger points NFTs just will assimilate to some degree. Because I do not see any point why not. Money is still getting pushed into innovation of crypto. Blockchain is still the most revolutionary tech to alleviate time in between processes. We had DeFi runs with like absurd narratives in 2020 when it started on Uniswap. We will have similar kind of runs with NFT innovation, I think.
What do you think about the and I kind of feel like this is the elephant in the room. What do you guys think about the Bored Ape Yacht Club and all these essentially JPEGs and PNGs selling for hundreds of thousands? What's your opinion on that? Do you think that's more of a distraction from what's really going on, or
I think it's
go
good.
ahead.
I think it's very good because it's drawing in participation and cultural awareness. Like we had stupid apes that just sprayed graffiti over some like landmark graffiti nobody should touch in, I think, New York City, was it? And I mean it's bad publicity, but like there is no real bad publicity. It's like
Well,
NFTs are
Barnum
built.
and Bailey proved that bad publicity is good publicity. So
Well, it brings in interest and noise, and that's all crypto needs in every new development. We got DeFi, and suddenly people and VCs and institutions and legislators were like, "Oh, wait a second, they do fractional reserve banking, but like it better." Hold on a second. I think similar stuff will happen with NFTs once ownership gets primed to one of your JPEGs.
so it's more of an introduction stage that we're in.
Oh, I believe so. It's like the late minority kind of thing. I think in general, like early majority will happen as soon as central bank digital currencies enter markets, and just everybody can just use crypto over their bank, even if it's bad. But like the adoption goes in, and NFTs is one of the major established like industry participants in the entire concept of blockchain. Apes just provide more publicity, I think, and it's gambling.
Sure.
Everybody
So
loves it.
you're saying we're early, sir.
In NFTs, yes.
Very nice. And where do you think ultimately NFT technology will take us? Other than, I want to buy something from Walmart.com. I have 20 NFTs. One is baby, formula. One is a bed. The other one's, T-bone steak. So on and so forth. Other than that, like how big, like how far do you think NFT technology can reach?
I mean, just to shortly tune in, have a QR code be an NFT, and then it's your identity. Well, there's unlimited options of having an NFT, or like a non-fungible token that is backed by whatever credibility you as someone with money has, and just have it as a key. Something like this, I think a lot about lately. And it would make sense to give the ownership a digital image or a digital like door, because we going full forward into the next technological revolution. Like VR and all this 5G shit will happen within this decade, very likely.
I'd like
With
to
what
chime in a little bit here and say that where I see ultimately this will go with NFTs is that anytime you buy something in the shop, you're going to get a digital receipt which is a NFT for every single item that you have. or it's going to be a fractional NFT because it's one out of a batch, which is 1,001 in that batch. You have any transaction of physical goods happening will be in form of NFT. Anytime you like heck, even the receipt when you fill the gas tank will be just automatically linked to an account when you pay, for that matter. The limits are no, I'm not just talking about the ledgering function of first of all where it came from, where it went to, but also who ended up with it. So, like, what's this expiry date of what I got? I lost the label. That kind of scenarios. Yeah, that's. I think that's where I see it go to an ending there. Where it basically everything works inside of a system that is utilizing NFTs in many ways.
I agree with that. I just wanted to add on to what Spook was talking about with the foundation of ownership and digital identity. The most exciting aspect of NFT ownership is self-custody of your identity. So you're in control of who has access to it at all times. You can give access of your medical records to one doctor, and then when you want to take away the access, you can revoke it. So you're in complete control over your personal information and identity information at all times with self-custody.
Yes,
I agree
sir.
with that
It's
100%.
it's hitting very close to home. Yes.
But that's one of the a little bit more forgotten, how to say, bonuses of crypto that majority I don't think have realized yet, because they're still stuck on exchanges and in custodial wallets and similar, is that once you really start breaking out of the traditional financial system, which includes the exchanges, which in essence are banks, um, like
Wow.
when people now start uh, breaking free from that, and they start to realize that there is economic functions outside of what they have done. Sure, now they have to take a bit more control over their own assets, which is something that majority have never ever even thought of doing. About, like, they leave it in the bank or put it under their sofa, for that matter. But I think that's something that's will change very fast, and people are already learning. There is exchanges, there is hedge funds, there is all sorts going exchange, no, going bankrupt left and right, just as we speak, even. Like, and all this is like, it's good, it's deleveraging, and it's setting the stage for the next level, essentially.
So, at this juncture, I would like to ask Joe, Spooks, and Suryan, is there anything we can put on the table right now, information-wise, that we may or may not be working on that would help the community see that we're actually working towards this direction?
I want to say something else that I'm going to say now, but I think we have already dropped quite a few clues during our AMAs, and I think it's better we keep it under the NDA that we have for now. More about it will be released hopefully shortly, but yeah, we still have to do a little bit more background work.
And this is why I present the question and not the statement.
I see something related to the token, actually. Just remember Studian talking about kind of like the trends related to stable growth and backing up different assets. And it's something that it's our proposition with Unbox, not just to have this this backing of different assets, but also through our, not the standard burn method, but reallocation model, where community commonwealth will, so the community and the investors will help us determine also which are these assets that we want to be backed by, basically. So just something that Pandora's is working and proposing as a token.
That actually triggers a question for me. Suryon, if you're willing, I'd like to ask you about a system that you had come up with about you know how we have your average JPEG NFT that is worth X amount because, well, essentially we think it's worth that amount. There's nothing really backing, and so we were talking, and you were talking about, well, no, NFTs NFTs should be backed. They should have a monetary value backing them, and not only that, but there should be a system backing that backing and a system backing that backing. Is this something you feel comfortable disclosing at this point?
I can talk a little bit about it. I've mentioned also some of this before. Something we've been working on with, we have one protocol, we have a potential of a few others that we use already that is, so essentially one of the things that I'm imagining for the future of NFTs is NFT series that is linked together. So let's say you have a neighborhood, like, and I'm dropping a big clue of what we're actually looking towards building infrastructure for. Should I hush or should I continue? No, like imagine a neighborhood, and you have all of these houses in a neighborhood linked up together in a series of NFTs. So now let's say that you every time they're sold on the open market, there is a 0.1% or 0.5% or 1%, 5%, doesn't matter. Whatever the community decides, that every time there is a change, there is a pot of money that goes directly into a commonwealth pot, or it goes under the backing of the other houses, or it goes to basically incentivize the neighborhood as a whole.
This is why you want a Norwegian on the team, by the way.
Maybe. I don't know about Norwegian,
Thank
what Norwegian has to do with that, but like this, you can basically build into societies essentially that instead of the taxing going through governments and all of these things, you can build it so it goes directly to the actual development and maintenance of the neighborhood itself where the transaction happened. And this is one of the things that sure, there is litigation, there is original taxing for selling and buying a house in most places of the world. There is a lot of things that comes into play here, but there is potentials in the future of NFTs and a potential of future of ownerships that will blow majority of people's minds once they realize what it actually means, the change that is being proposed for them.
But for this transition, for this wave, having in mind the current NFT market, how can the holders position themselves to ride this next wave, not just successfully, but also in terms of how lucrative it can be? Do you have any tips?
My main tips, I think, would be go for the platforms, go for the chains and where the innovation is being built on, and the projects. The NFTs themselves, sure, a lot of them will have value, and once we start coming into real assets and real backed assets, they will sustain value. But I think for now is to look for real builders, people that is actually going forth on the innovation, living on the edge in that sense, like which is actually pushing the limits of what is possible. And I think that's when you can truly monetize it more securely, especially in markets that is as they are today. And it's volatile, and as mentioned, it's very early.
What I would do throw in as well is if you look at the gambling side of things, Solana and Matic, Polygon, their NFT market are still like active. There's still money to be made there, even though it's a bear market.
Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on this since you have a bit more insight in that space.
Well, more on Solana than on Matic. I just know that Matic is actively like accumulating gaming people, compared like gaming projects and these kind of industry on their side. And Solana is just it's just big on art. The art market on Solana is just it's alive and vivid. There's like every other week still another new upcoming NFT project, and even if the general volume is low, it's getting bought and people make money.
And what do you think about the excuse my language, but the confuckery between Terra Luna went down, thank you BlackRock, and now Celsius has a target on its back, and people they're kind of looking at Solana. They're you know, they may be doing well, but they seem to have a bit of a target on them. What do you think is the survivability of that?
Politics and lobbies. Sam has donated $4 million to Biden on his campaign in 2020, and even if 4 million is not really a lot, he did it publicly, so he actively lobbies for it. He's in cahoots with every regulator. He has FTX US running, and he already is one of the better positioned public images, because even though FTX loaned, no, it might be mistaken, but I read the tweet yesterday where it said that Celsius still needs like 300 million from FTX they borrowed out. But as Sam has declared himself or placed himself publicly as like the one that bails the people out, I think Solana has like more than enough survivability. I would even go so far and say like Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana is very likely to continue to exist. Litecoin probably as well, Link probably as well, but Solana has established itself, in my opinion.
I do agree with that. Solana has definitely established themselves. I think that they're, believe it or not, they may communicate, but I do think that their communication has failed a little bit. Other than that, I really don't see anything that would really take them down at this juncture. ETH is doing in. Go ahead.
Apparently, the new Solana update, I have read briefly about it. Apparently, the new Solana update fixes the issues. Like the chain is not going to stop anymore, apparently, or less. Circuit breaks in the Solana blockchain. Seems bullish.
Well, very good. What do you think about ETH? I know that's just not. I've never liked ETH. I have launched a few tokens on ETH, but I don't. I really just I detest the way they've. Well, that's hard to say because I don't detest ETH. I think that they've done a great job of attempting to pioneer. However, there have been, in my opinion, many mistakes that have been made. What do you think along those lines?
I think ETH is playing for the cabal and has established a node in the stratosphere. They pivot to like, are they already merged? Proof of stake. It's just lobby
They're
work.
halfway there, halfway not, as I understood it.
I just think it's big enough to not fail because it's ERC20 is one of the fundamental structures for the industry.
It really is.
Right now. And such right now it's just survivability and lobbying. It's like I see a lot of cryptos just going towards lobbying because banks will either nuke certain protocols or buy them up or partner with them. And like I'm a big proponent of saying CBDC good, at least for price. If money goes in from common banks, number will go up. And even if it's a bad thing when it goes to control and like draconian governments, ETH is in a very good position to get some of those monies. Solana as well. It's just a game.
You also have e-gold, Elrond Gold. I see the Scandinavian central bank and the Swiss central bank is using that one as a base protocol for their CBDC.
You had to bring up Elrond.
Yeah, it's if we're talking CBDCs and you want to monetize on the use case and use like the actual people using the CBDCs, that should be one of the investments to do. But I'm not a big proponent of it, but I see it as a inevitability. But
What about you, Olo?
I'm not a big proponent of CBDCs either, but I agree with Surian. I do see it as inevitable, ultimately, and something that we are going to have to deal with and accept the presence of. But I think that we can still make the best of it and work with it in our favor.
Do you guys see a good way to circumvent this issue? Sorry, go ahead, Surian. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was going to add that although since this discussion is around NFTs and we're talking about central bank digital currencies and all of that, it's all going to go digital. And as mentioned earlier, like we have bonds, we have treasuries, we have all sorts of things that is pegged on into NFTs and other ways of pegging it on the blockchain. And this is just another sign that this is just the beginning of where this technology is coming. And once the central bank digital currencies start running in China, for example, it's already running full time. And like we're going to see that the innovation is going to explode on levels that nobody, I think, today can even imagine, because everything is going to be running on these systems and these type of protocols. There is no way around it unless some genius managed to figure out quantum computing, which I seriously doubt that is going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, good luck there. It's on the quantum level. There's just too much dissonance. I'm sure they'll figure it out, but you know, it's just way too much dissonance. You get 10 qubits and you've already got hell to pay for, and so on and so forth. But anyways, as for circumventing this issue, is there the CBDC issue? Is there anything that you guys see that could help in that quadrant?
Focusing on self-custody as much as possible, migrating away from centralized institutions, even like centralized exchanges, and migrating to DEXs and being as fully self-custody as possible. I think ultimately we're going to be forced to use CBDCs in the same sense that we're forced to use the US dollar or the Mexican peso in daily life. Although it is possible to circumvent that currently, even though we are in a sense forced to use centralized currencies, you can live fully self-custody and live your life only using self-custody crypto and never touch a bank. It is possible today, and people do it. So I think
and now, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that we can maintain that same self-autonomy with CBDCs. Although it's going to be a little inconvenient to do that, I think it'll still be possible.
And what about the security of those transactions? Because see, the major issue that I see right now going on in the world right at this moment is that you have institutions, you got governments, you've got even corporations, which is in and out of institution depending on the level. But they have a security that is literally retarded at this point. You don't know who the flip you really don't know who they are, right? And that's very secure for them, and I get that. I actually respect it quite a bit. That's something that I think we should all have. However, I'm also aware that we don't all have that. The individual is left essentially butt naked in the middle of the road. And that's that's no hype. That's literally how it is. So how do we solve that issue? How do we get the individual as secure as any government or as institution or corporation or whatever? Yes, you guys are allowed your anonymity. However, I would also prefer to be allowed that anonymity as well.
I guess the solutions that we're sorry, Ricard, go on.
No, go ahead. I was just going to interject and say that was quite a tall order. I didn't mean to drop that on the group like that, but if you have answers, go for it.
I think primarily it just goes back to self-custody of everything and using the right technology solutions for self-custody that provide that security and privacy, like Monero, as far as currency goes.
Yeah, I want to also add that now Litecoin has a privacy feature, so which also means that most likely the privacy feature is going to be on the Bitcoin's very near future as well, which is yeah, it's an interesting thought to have.
So what if we took Monero's privacy or Litecoin's privacy and added that to NFT? How would that look for us?
I guess this are the things that the future holds. As in, we can think, we can discuss as we're doing here now, put ideas together, try to build things. But as things will progress, we'll see where it goes, I guess. And I feel like it's a good time maybe to wrap up this roundtable on NFTs and other things and say that we're coming again with another roundtable. If you'd like to be a guest speaker or if you have someone to point to be a guest speaker, most likely be doing another roundtable on NFTs as well. So stay tuned.
That can be here or on Twitter.
Well, it depends on our pool, on who we're going to also have as guest speakers. But for the next AMAs, there are going to be announcements, and when, where, what about will be on the next announcement for sure. So I would like to thank all the special guests and the teams and advisors. So thank you, Descartes, Spook, Studian, Viking, and everybody that is here listening, either live or to the recording. And it was really great to talk to all of you about all these things. And thank you for coming. We'll be releasing this recording soon in the chat, and also YouTube video and a summary of the call very soon. And next week, we're meeting up again in our next AMA, and we hope you'll be there with us. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I see that Dreaming Heroes is typing.
Yes, thank you so much, you guys.
Feel free to drop questions even after the AMA. If you're listening after, feel free to drop questions, and we might be able to answer.
Let's open up just in case anybody has an important question they really need answered. Type it in. We'll give you about a minute or two. But
so mute yourself and talk to us in voice.
There's that too. Okay, we got Dreaming Heroes is typing.
Chris was also typing at some point. Dreaming Hero says that was an enlightening roundtable. I'm a huge fan of the roundtable / Socratic format, so thank you all for sharing your perspective and knowledge. Thank you, Dreaming Heroes, to be here until the end. And we're super excited to bring more of these conversations with other speakers and also other topics. So feel free to drop a few of the topics that you're interested in learning more about or discussing also. So thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Shout out to Chris as well. Thank you for your text. Absolutely phenomenal stuff, guys. Yes, I just wanted to say that this was amazing. I'll join in on voice next time. Roger that. Thank you very much, brother.
Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.
Absolutely.